Hello, my name is Glenn Dyer, and you are watching a Dyer-Situation. Today I'm seeing Home Again. So this was fine. Uh, this was fine. Characters in it are fine. The humor in this movie is fine. And overall, I'd say the movie is fine. And in fact, probably pretty good for its genre. But here's the thing. I hate this movie's genre. In fact, if you were to make a list of my favorite to least favorite genres, horror would be number one, favorite. Second from bottom would be sport movies. So any movie involving where the outcome of some sort of game is the of some sort of athletic competition is the prime goal of the movie. And very flat bottom of that barrel, romantic comedy. Why, you might ask? Well, it's mostly a personal thing. I don't expect everyone to think this way, but for me, romantic comedies are extremely limited by their genres to a ludicrous degree. Why is that, you might ask? Well, it goes with the two parts of it. Romantic comedy is essentially a blending of two different genres: romance and comedy. The romance part demands that there are at least two people who are falling in love with each other or are in love with each other. Actually, no, somewhere in there they fall in love. But you can do a lot with a romance. You can change the setting, you can change the people, you can change the dynamics, you can have interesting characters. You can do so much with just around the idea of two or more people fall in love. So basic. But you bring in comedy. Comedy is boundless. You just have to be funny. But you put the two together, and it becomes the most constricting genre of all time. Because essentially, you have to have two people fall in love and have it be funny. And to almost every filmmaker, this essentially means it has to be a lighthearted, fun movie for the whole family, but mostly for mom. So, nothing too intense is going to happen. Nothing too crazy, most of the time. And even if something crazy does happen, it still has to follow all the different beats. All the different beats, because it's as if pushing these two things together creates such a narrow pathway that that your story can't budge that much from there. There has to be some sort of awkward meetup at the beginning, which blossoms into love over the course of the film, and then some sort of misunderstanding leads to them to temporarily go their separate ways, but then they realize that their love is too important, and they get back together again. And it's all in the name of fun. And I find it so boring. And you know what? Even though I do think that people who might be into rom-coms, like grandmas or something, would find this enjoyable, this is probably, even in terms of rom-coms that I could stand, this is at the bottom of the barrel for me too. And that is all due to something I call the anything goes effect. You see, with Anything Goes is this musical, this Cole Porter musical from like the 1930s, I think. Still goes on today. I think there's like a revival or something. But anyway, it's about this group of people set up on a ship, and there's a whole bunch of relationships between them. It's a romantic comedy, kind of. You know, there's romance, there's comedy. And, you know, they all get into their groups, they all have their different dynamics and stuff, but here's the thing. In the original script, in the second act, the boat sinks. The boat starts sinking. All the new characters are pushed into a totally different situation. And they all have to adapt to this new one, and hijinks ensue from this sinking. However, when it was being made, an actual tragedy happened and a ship was sunk, carrying a whole bunch of people in it. It wasn't the Titanic, by the way, guys. That happened 20 years earlier, but, you know, huge disaster happened. So, of course, the makers of the musical didn't want to have people think that they're capitalizing on some sort of disaster or something, or making fun of it. So they got rid of that part. They got rid of the boat crashing part. Here's the thing. As a consequence of that, the movie has absolutely no conflict. Everything works out fine. And you know what? This isn't limited to just that musical. There are a whole ton of like musicals I can think of where honestly nothing goes wrong, or nothing goes wrong that can't be fixed with like a brief conversation, you know. But normally you're at least distracted by the good music. But music isn't very popular to put in your movie nowadays, at least not in terms of like musical music. So, when you have a movie like this, where there is literally no conflict, nothing goes wrong, nobody's pushed in a new direction, nobody is stressed out or uncomfortable or even like a little bit worried, it's boring as shit. Like, they tease the idea of maybe having a conflict. Essentially, what's her name? Reese Witherspoon. She's like the main character. She, through a series of events, she lets in these three filmmaker guys into her spare bedroom, just because they needed like a place to stay and stuff. They're meant to be starving artists. Like, literally, they have no money, that's why they have to stay with her. Yet they are dressed exquisitely, and they appear to be in great shape, and they eat fine food all the time. And they find a place to stay, rent-free, quite quickly. But, yeah, what is there with that? Oh, she's worried that they might be a bad influence on her kids. They get along fine. Literally, they make a joke about that. They get along perfectly. These guys are trying to get their film produced by this company, right? So they assign this producer to it, who normally produces horror movies. And they're like, oh my god, he's gonna suggest horrible things. No, he doesn't. I mean, he has like suggestions, but he doesn't make them take it. He's just throwing around ideas. At the end of the movie, I guess this is supposed to be the climax of their plot, they come across this financer who's wanting all these horrible ideas that would totally destroy their shitty movie. And they stand up to him and like, clearly you don't want to make our movie, so we're leaving. And that's the end of it. Like, there's no actual conflict from that. They just say, you don't care about our movie, so we're going. And he says, okay. Alright. In terms of Reese Witherspoon's plot, she's worried about her ex-husband. I don't know. She doesn't like him. He doesn't do anything wrong either. At least not anything in the movie. Hell, there's this one scene, I swear you not, where one of the filmmaker guys gets into a fist fight with her ex-husband. And you'd think this might lead to something. You think he might shatter the dude's nose, and they call the police on him, or something crazy happens, and, you know, something. But no. They punch him, nobody gets even bruised. She sends him out of the house, and but then they just have a brief conversation and everything's fine. My fucking god. And the jokes in this movie, oh my fucking god. They are total sitcom, family movie jokes, all of them. And hey, I don't exactly, you know how I am. I don't exactly think that, like, all jokes have to be, like, raunchy or something like that. I mean, in fact, when it comes to movies where, like, they really like their raunchy jokes, more often than not, it turns out to be a crutch, and they don't actually have any kind of thought to them. They're just raunchy for raunchiness sake. But Jesus Christ, when some movie's so fucking squeaky clean like that, it's just, oh, it's like looking at a plain white wall. It burns your eyes. It's not fun, As I said, grandmas, boring moms, very boring people. You'll like it. You'll like it fine. Anyone who's looking for any kind of excitement, no. No. This is... Oh my god. Yeah, so I despise it. But I still say, in terms of rom-coms, believe it or not, this movie is not insufferable. So that makes it pretty high up on the list of rom-coms. So, yeah. Until next time, I'm Glenn Dyer, and you have been watching a Dyer-Situation.